first, stunt coordinator, Jeff Arrow. It is the dude who plays Azula. Paul Sun-Hyung Lee, who plays Arrow. Dallas Liu, who plays Zuko. Ousley, who plays Sokka. Kiawentiio, who plays Katara. And, did I skip someone? No, did I? No, maybe the star of the show, Cormier, who plays There you go. Thanks so much to all of you for being here. This is exciting. I know we have it seems a lot of Avatar fans in the audience. Is that right? Okay, had a feeling. Well, I would like to start here, and we'll just kind of go down the road quickly, just kind of yelling out a number here. I'm curious, because this show, highly anticipated might be an understatement to say how excited people were for this because of how many fans there were of the animated series. But prior to becoming part of this, I'm curious if 1 is not much and 10 is a whole lot. How familiar were you with the world of Avatar? We'll go this way.
Sorry guys, it was a 1.
That's okay.
It was from before I was born, so.
Ouch. But yes, okay.
I would have to put myself pretty high, like 9 or 10. I'm like super into the world and the franchise. I have a few comics, and I read through some of the, I didn't get to finish it, but the Kyoshi book. Yeah, I love the lore, so I definitely was a huge fan before the show.
Yeah, I was probably around a 7 or 8. I had watched it when it came out when I was a kid, like the reruns. And then when it came out during COVID on Netflix, I got back into it, kind of like a lot of people did over COVID. And I had like a comic or two, one of the visual. So yeah, I really like the show.
I would have to say at an 8 because Zuko is like my favorite character, and also I loved watching those like power rankings on YouTube of like who's the strongest Avatar, or like who's the strongest Airbender, stuff like that. And so those videos informed me a lot about the lore of that entire universe.
There are strong opinions about that, by the way.
Yeah.
Solid 7. I watched it. Actually, I didn't watch it at the beginning because my kids were too young. But I did my first watch in like 2018, and I binged the whole thing, so it all blended into one by the time we started again. But I did a rewatch, so I brought it up to solid 9. But at least for book 1. But yeah.
Elizabeth?
Probably a 7 too. I mean, I watched the reruns growing up. I was like one of those kids who only watched Disney and Nickelodeon growing up, so there was a lot to watch, and that was one that had people that kind of looked like us. So definitely really inspiring watching that growing up. And then over COVID, my family rewatched it, and I did like one of those things where like you like walk through the living room, but then like just like stare at the TV. So I got a little bit more familiar with it while we were auditioning, which is crazy. Yeah.
I was a 1. This is where we started, but I grew up on Kung Fu cinema. Wong Fei-hung. Once Upon a Time in China, these Kung Fu heroes are something that were dear to my heart. So as soon as I got engaged in it, I would say now I'm a 9. I've been into it, but I keep wanting to watch more.
Fair enough. There's a lot to watch, so that is possible. For those of you who were like big fans already, was there a scene, a moment, a set piece, something that you were just really like, oh my God, I can't believe I get to be part of remaking XYZ, whatever it might be?
I'd have to go with the scar and the ponytail of season 1. I think that's undeniable. I remember the first time I ever spoke to Albert after I had booked the role. That was like the first topic of conversation was, are we doing this? Just because that would be like a year of my life committed to a very unique haircut.
Yeah. but you rocked it well. So that's.
I got lucky with the head shape. I was really worried about that. The first day that me and Ian got our haircuts, we did it together, and we have amazing before and after pictures.
For me, I'd have to go with like Appa. I think that was a huge one. I mean, on the day we didn't get to see him completely. We just saw, you know, like the top of him, and even the saddle, to be able to sit in the saddle was super cool. And looking back at the pictures of just like the stills when we were filming, it was so crazy to think of the reality of what we were actually doing. And you know, I loved the show so much. To just see it come to life was crazy. And then waiting for the effects to come in and seeing it all complete, it was magical.
Yeah, I'd have to say Appa as well. I remember like the day, the first day I got on set, I was like, where's Appa? They're like, he's not built yet. I was like, oh crap. And then one day I was filming and they're like, hey, Appa's in stage 3. You wanna go see him? And I was like, oh hell yeah. And I ran, and I was like always in these like socks, so I like ran slide, looked at Appa, like saw his leg and then looked up and he had no face. He saw the effects and I was like, oh, okay, this is good. This is Appa's leg and head for sure. I don't know if this is Appa all the way, but it was really fun. But like, we were like on a 15-foot tall like animatronic thing. So
So cool.
For me, it was when I saw the cabbage merchant's cart. That was a big one because I thought, oh, this one's for the fans, right? And this entire endeavor was for the fans as well, which I think stepping into this world, once we found out, because a lot of us had to audition in secret, or it was a disguised audition. We didn't know what we were auditioning for. At least I didn't. I thought it was a basketball movie.
I thought it was baseball.
Yeah, right?
I thought it was baseball.
So, yeah, it was one of those things, and when I found out it was for Avatar, then I really, really wanted the part. And the whole thing is just, it's such a blur because you go through the hair and makeup process, the costuming and this and that, and you're on stage and it all seems really surreal until you see those physical manifestations of things that are absolutely recognizable, Appa being one of them. But for me, it was seeing that cabbage merchant's cart, and I wanted to leak that picture so bad. Just want to leak it. But, and as well as seeing Aang's glider and Sokka's club on a props table. Like that, for me, was peak nerd moment.
Well, we're going to run through questions here for each of you related to your character. So, Gordon, I will certainly start with you with that because your character, Aang, is, of course, at the center of all of this as the last known Airbender and the Avatar, the chosen one, really. And, you know, he's supposedly the one who can save the world, but he has a lot of opposition in that, you know, there are lots of characters who are also fighting for that power. So, in a lot of regards, I would think this might be kind of a daunting, overwhelming character because so much is riding on you. But what was really the reality of it for you? What was it like getting to take on the mantle of this iconic character?
Well, actually, wait, first things first. Do we have any, like, Ty Lee Airbender, like, I don't know. Do you guys know about that theory? Anyone? Come on, guys.
I know what you're talking
I
about.
do know what you're referring to as well, Gordon.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I just had to bring that up. So, as a 12-year-old, I didn't really know that I was leading the show at the time. I just found out at Pele Fest, actually. But it was a really amazing opportunity because at the time it was my first ever big role. So it's just so amazing to portray a character that has so much range I could play around with. So I'm really grateful I got to be the first one.
And kind of nice that maybe you did know because it's less pressure.
Yeah, actually, I had no clue.
Right, exactly. That worked out well. Kiawentiio, Katara, you know, she certainly has a journey of her own figuring out and honing her abilities, but also really trying to establish her sense of self. So I'm curious, how did you approach the role, but specifically all of these challenges that she's facing?
I mean, I think I was in her shoes because these things were challenges for me as well, which, you know, brought me closer to her as a character. And like with the bending, you know, that was something that's completely new to me. And I think that was like a challenge that I, you know, took on. And with that, it helped me understand the challenges that she was going through. Even it was the same thing, right? Those movements are the same. The only difference is in her world, she gets to actually bend the water. So being on that same path as her, you know, helped me understand her and helped my process more with approaching those type of things.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Ian, as the protector of his tribe, Sokka sets on, out on this quest to save the world with his younger sister, but as well as Aang. And on one hand, of course, he's the oldest, and he's trying to lead this trio. But on the other hand, we do get to see a lot of his vulnerabilities. So I'm curious, how did you work with the others to kind of showcase that chemistry while also really finding his place within the group?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think that he's figuring out a lot of that on the way. From like a young age, Sokka has really had a lot of responsibility with not a lot of preparation, which is a difficult position to be in. And so really the only thing that he has to lean on is his community, is his family, the family that he has left in the village, which is Katara. And then his family that is like a chosen family, which is Aang. And so that was really easy because that's really how it felt on the opposite side of reality with these two. I'm the youngest of my family, so I'd never really gotten the opportunity to be an older sibling, which was something that I grew into, I feel like, with Sokka. He kind of gets to stop focusing so much on how daunting the task of his responsibility really is when he gets to let go and go to Kyoshi and go see some of the world, and really fall into like what it looks like to be an older brother in support of people. He has no powers, but they do. So how do you try to not take the responsibility from like weaken his sister is what he's doing at the beginning of the season? How do you empower these people that are actually more powerful than you? Really becomes like part of his journey. Yeah.
As the oldest, I understand that for sure. Any other oldest siblings in the audience? It's understandable, right?
You guys
Dallas. Yeah. Dallas, your character Zuko, not only the crown prince of the Fire Nation, but also a very skilled firebender, which requires a lot of stunts along the way. And luckily, you do have a background in martial arts. So I'm curious how that helped when learning your fight choreography but on the flip side, what was the most challenging aspect of then actually trying to show what firebending would look like on screen?
It helped in a lot of different ways, but I think it helped the most on the days because of the background that I have and the amount of time that I was doing martial arts. I think it allowed for me on set to worry less about the choreography and focus in more on the character moments and the person that he would be fighting. So for me, it was like my bread and butter, something that felt very second nature to me, which I'm thankful for all those years that my mom put me through, because now I get to work on this show amongst these amazing actors and actresses, and then working with Jeff, who allowed me to help and be a part of the creative process of each of the fights that Zuko has. And yeah, I guess the one thing in particular that was challenging was probably the costume. A lot of the Fire Nation and even Water Tribes, their costumes are so heavy and there's so many thick layers of leather. I was like ripping through pants every fight. They had like doubles on standby ready to go all the time.
What was really special about this project is that I've had the opportunity to support experienced actors in very vulnerable situations. And this is one of the first times in my career where I've got to support people that look like me, that my little boys are going to be able to look up to. So I want to say thank you so much. All of you, thank you for trusting me. I think you've done something really special, and it's something that I hope that it's generational. It's one of those projects that I hope that we get to continue to share.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul, as the mentor of a very hot-headed, we'll say, nephew, your role is to really attempt to guide his morals through what is ultimately a global fight. So I'm curious if you had any like, touchstones for inspiration for your character, and I'm curious how you managed to like ground yourself in this fantastical world.
Wow. Well, I mean, first things first, a lot of the success of this story comes from the writing, which is the backbone of it all. And then you layer on top of that the fantastic performers who were involved in it as well. Dallas, who's my primary scene partner in a lot of it, and he crushed it in so much, and it made it so easy to work with him and collaborate with him and care for him in a way too, because I was the old guy, you know. He leaned on me a lot just in terms of asking for advice. He was always very open-minded about listening to me ramble on about my experiences. So in a lot of ways, there's that sense of stewardship as an older, more experienced Asian actor, especially because there's not a lot of us around out there. And so whatever wisdom I could impart on any of these fine young people, I try, because I think that's a responsibility to somebody who's been through the muck, to just sort of hear a few little pearls of wisdom that I've learned the hard way. Maybe you guys can avoid that. And so with Dallas, it was that desire to protect and to nurture. And that just translated into the work itself, I think. So we had a wonderful relationship off screen and on screen. I think it did show. And you know, again, it was just one of these things where you just draw on your own life experiences to help tell the story. It informs you these things. And so I think I've been playing older my entire career. It's a byproduct of having losing my hair when I was in my 20s. And so it's one of these things where I think my previous experiences have groomed me to be a father-like figure, and it helps that I have two boys at home, and I think the world of them, like I think the world of this entire cast. And so you want to protect, you want to nurture, you want to help grow. So all these things, these personal things, you draw on to help tell the story. And yeah.
Elizabeth, Azula is, of course, the princess of the Fire Nation, and, you know, like her brother, trying to impress her dad, trying to find her place in society. But the problem is she just really doesn't have the same opportunities, you know, as her brother. So I'm curious what it was like creating a character that represents some of the gender bias in a royal family, and did you have any like helpful resources in understanding that?
Oh my gosh, what a good question. Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of Azula's whole arc in the original series has a lot to do with not only her being the second-born, but being one of the only females in the Fire Nation royal family, you know, because they don't have their mom there anymore. I think that it's really interesting to see, like, this sort of commentary that the original series has of women in power, and, you know, the difference between Azula and Zuko, when really they, at the end of the day, they do want the same thing. Yeah, it's so inspiring. I mean, when I was auditioning for this part, we did not know what it was, but I still was so moved by it, because very rarely do I get to audition for a character who is specifically a powerful young Asian woman. And, you know, the scenes were like very Azula-esque, where she was manipulating people and had just like this leg up on everybody else in the scene, and it was just, I was freaking out because I was like, I don't want to follow this one because this is special. I felt it, and so it's incredibly moving to be able to pick. I know she's evil, but you know, it's moving to get to it's moving to get to play just a confident Asian young woman at the end of the day. Yeah.
Jeff, the stunts in this are just fantastic. By the way, his list of credits is just phenomenal. If you don't know, check him out. I could spend the rest of our time listing all those off, but you lead such a fantastic team here. But what's so fascinating about it is that in many ways you are adapting and translating stuff that people know and expect from an animated series. I'm curious what kind of challenge that was, and is that a first for you, adapting things like that?
Well, right at the gate, we knew that we wanted to make sure we paid homage to the source material, because it's amazing. We just wanted to make sure the choices we were making were adding depth and breadth to the universe. So when it comes to making choices like this, we just tried our best to make choices that audiences would love, whether they were fans of the original series or whether they were first-time watchers. So we hope that you guys enjoy the hard work that everyone put into this.
It was all very much so a collaborative effort, I would say. I think, I mean, Ian also being an experienced martial artist, helping out with Kiawentiio and Gordon in their fights. It was so much fun to watch just everyone come together for the fight scenes.
On every level, this was the most complex, collaborative project I've ever been a part of. And it would only be possible if everyone gave 1,000%. So thank you, and thank you for watching. We really look forward to the next series. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that, but we're out of time, so no, I'm kidding. We have 30 seconds left. We'll get to this
29.
question. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, seasons 2 and 3 we know are coming. I'm curious for each of you. Of course, no spoilers, but if there's something in particular that you're just really excited for.
Can I go first?
Absolutely.
Awesome, yeah. So I'm really excited to work with a bunch of new characters. Obviously, we got a few good ones coming up, so I'm really excited for that.
That's a good one. I would say the same thing. I mean, I think there's a bunch of new stuff in season 2 and 3 that just keeps getting better. This is like a show that I would say just keeps getting better. So, I mean, I couldn't put a finger on it. You go.
Yeah, I'm really looking, I have some martial arts experience, so I'm really looking forward to getting to show some more of that as Sokka's character progresses and becomes better at fighting.
I'm looking forward to our version of Zuko and Uncle Iroh's relationship because it feels certainly a little different in the first season of our live action compared to the animated series. So to see that relationship, like we've seen in the animated series, develop and fall apart and rekindle, will be so exciting.
I agree, and I'm not looking forward to Prison Bot Ira. Getting there.
I'm excited because, you know, in the original series, Azula's not even in it. So I'm excited to finally do some of the stuff from the cartoon. Finally, and get to recreate it and get to work with all of these beautiful faces for the first time too, because most of my work was with Diana Day Kim, who plays Ozai, and Mamona and Talia, who played Mei and Ty Lee. So yeah, I'm excited to finally tap into that, yeah.
Really excited to meet Toph. And the diary. I think there's so much that happen in the next season. So
A lot to look forward to. Yeah, a lot. Well, that is officially the end of this panel, and our brave warriors from Africa.